When we see individuals who suffer with anxiety disorders, they are many people a very common sect of anxiety that people struggle with, and that is called agoraphobia. Now, obviously, the word phobia comes from an irrational fear of something, and agor or agora, I believe, is Latin or even Greek for marketplace. It means marketplace. And what they're referring to when they say marketplace is the outdoors, society, people. And a very important factor that we need to realize as anxiety sufferers in recovery is that we are not actually afraid of the outside. We're not actually afraid of the marketplace. We're not afraid of people, but we are afraid of ourselves. We are afraid of, will I panic? Will I collapse? What will we do in this situation, as Dr. Claire Weeks puts it? So that is truly a great perspective and a massive dose of truth when it comes to anxiety, that we are not actually afraid of these things in and of themselves, because we know they provide no danger. They're not dangerous. We know that. And we've experienced that. We've experienced that. We know, oh, we've been in Tesco's once before and we may have had a panic attack, but we knew rationally that we weren't in danger. But this oversensitive nervous system fired off, kicked off, and we responded to it with fear. It is truly it is truth that what really fuels this anxiety is the fear of this anxiety itself. As Drew Linsalata from The Anxious Truth puts it, it is a fear of fear. And so as we fear this fear in itself, it is internally generated. And it becomes worse, it becomes stronger, it becomes even more of a giant in our minds and in our hearts when we start avoiding. We will start avoiding life. We will start avoiding people. You may be hard pressed to believe that at the beginning of this year, I don't like to say I was borderline agoraphobic or agoraphobic, because I did leave the house. I went to church. I went to, uh, you know, uh, I went out with friends to play pool. But I remember I was having these anxious sensations every time I went to the gym, which is quite strange, because you would think the gym is a place to get strong and stuff, and may help you with mental health. But I stopped going to the gym. A public gym. Um, I found it incredibly difficult to go to church. I was having these anxious bodily sensations, and I was fearing them. I remember running out of church, people trying to call my name, talk to me, and I would step right beside them and run out the building. I remember that. This was the beginning of this year, before I found out the right information regarding this. So social scenarios, going out in public places, these different things would trigger me. And what I would do before I had this right information, I would fear it. I would resist it. I would fight it. In my heart and my body, I would be in my senses. I would try and stop these anxious sensations from happening, and that is what adds fuel to the fire of fear. Because once we allow it, once we not engage with it, obviously, but once we allow it to be there, accept it, move through it, don't resist it, and we have the right information regarding anxiety, and we actually trust our bodies, then we move out of it. But we see this. We see this with people with problems. A gentleman in my church, he's in his 60s, and he had a panic attack when he was working in a warehouse. And from that point onwards, he could not leave his house. He couldn't leave his house. Now he's in church, but now he still struggles, Living. He still struggles, and he's had this for 40 years. And this information, I'm almost sick to my stomach. I'm almost upset in the fact that this information is not mainstream. As Dr. Harry Barry talks about it, anxiety is one of the easiest mental health issues to treat, and yet it is one of the most debilitating. When we feel our bodies shut down, when we have this sense of fear, this dread, this panic, a sense of impending doom, that we feel like something is going to go wrong. In our body, in our hearts, in our minds, we have an impending sense of doom. But once we learn to move through it, once we learn to see through it, very, very funny. I talked about this in one of my last videos briefly. I went out with a friend on a bike ride, and I felt these anxious sensations come upon me once again. And what I would usually do, I'd fear it, I would resist it, I would panic, I would get upset, I would be frustrated, and yet this time I allowed it to be there. It was very uncomfortable. It was not a pleasure to let it be there. But I said to myself, well, you haven't got much choice, Adam. You know, obviously the alternative, what you could do, you could fear it, you could resist it, you can give yourself a panic attack. But once you truly go towards the fear, once you learn about the right information, that this is not a monster trying to get you, but this is an overstimulated nervous system that is firing off prematurely, that is misfiring. And it is to do with your body and your mind. It is dysregulated, it is disordered. And of course, Dr. Harry Barry talks about this. How, you know, why is this? How did this anxiety come upon me, this disorder? Well, it's different for other people, whether it is genetic or environmental. But for me, it started with a panic attack. And after that, I started to fear that fear. I didn't fear the place. Well, it's actually quite funny. You do start fearing that thing, but you know rationally that there is no danger. There is no danger. You know that. A person, a rational person in their right mind, know that they're not in danger. And so when we see this happening, we can start to truly demystify, okay, you know, what is anxiety? Anxiety is simply a stress response. It is the fight or flight response that is responsible for keeping us safe from, you know, out of harm's way. And when this becomes disordered, like for example, as I said in one of my other videos again, that my first panic attack was when I was 9, and it was in a traffic jam. For the longest time, I couldn't say the word traffic jam because the fear in that moment, it was almost like claustrophobia. I've talked about it in other videos. Came over me when I was 9, and I found it incredibly difficult to get into a car. And I knew even at the age of 9 that there was nothing to fear, and yet it was that feeling of fear itself that was, well, you know, it was this horrendous experience. And yet once we learn about the right information regarding anxiety, I will quote Dr. Harry Barry again when he talks about when he treats his patients, when he treats his clients, he says, well, I want you to go out and go into those places you fear, and I want you to feel these feelings. And I mean, the first, you know, as an anxiety sufferer, you say, what? Are you crazy? You want me to feel these feelings, these sensations? You must be out of your mind. Must be, you know, on another planet, like. But it's truly when, as I'll quote Dr. Claire Weeks when she says, our recovery lies in the symptoms that we fear the most. Now, guys, I've gone a bit everywhere in this video once again. I always do it. I always do it. I don't know why I apologize for it. So it's just the way I make these videos. But guys, if you have found any value from these videos, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Make sure to like and share and comment on it as well. It will help boost this video. So guys, thanks for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.